Beat the Clippers again? Yes, they beat the Clippers at home for the first time in 8.5 years. The Clippers came into this game on a 15-game winning streak in Sacramento. It's been snapped because the Kings got a win, 104-99. I'm Deuce Mason. This is TV's Morgan Reagan. How you doing, Mo?
I'm honestly fantastic because I'm eating this food. 1, 2, eating after a win, they just go together.
Yeah, it tastes so good, doesn't it?
And after a win, yes, the win, it tastes so good. It's just, it felt good, Deuce, but it was like a good win. That's the other thing that is so great about tonight.
Well, let's get to our first thoughts presented by Guaranteed Rate and Rate.com/Sean Stanfield. The Kings tonight playing again without Harrison Barnes for the 5th straight game. Mo Harkless missing his 4th straight game. Marvin Bagley returned. And the one difference in this game tonight, Paul George did play for the Clippers. So you're going into it going, okay, let's see what kind of Kings team's going to show up. I thought the Kings did a good job from the jump. They were pushing the pace. The shots didn't fall at an efficient rate tonight, but I think I enjoy these wins more than when shots do fall because it shows that they can grind it out even when the shots aren't falling.
And it's not like that they were taking a whole bunch of bad shots like we've seen game after game after game where they believe a wide open 3 just should be a good shot. No. And we went over in our Kings pregame how awful this Kings team is shooting from 3, non-contested 3s though. Awful. They're the worst in the league. It's crazy how they could miss so many open 3s. So this team tonight didn't just take open 3s and contested 3s, they created those 3s. And that's something that we hadn't seen, especially consistently done. So to see that now the last 2 times against this Clippers team, 15 3s in that last game and then 12 3s tonight against the Clippers, I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with their decisions.
The 2 guys that I feel like you have to immediately talk about tonight are guys that were out of the rotation at times this year.
Yeah.
The first one being Terrence Davis. And, I mean, I felt like I had been fooled by Terrence Davis last year based on the start of this season because, you know, we're talking about the offseason. Like, hey, that's a nice signing, you know, bargain deal for them. He's a streaky guy, but, man, I think he's going to help them a lot. And then we saw him in the preseason. The dogs are hitting the camera. I'm going to kill them. We saw him in the preseason, and he was hitting everything. You're like, okay, this is why you like him. The first, 20 games of the season, 20-plus games of the season, he was not hitting anything. And you talk about all the wide-open shots. He was getting a lot of wide-open shots and not making any of them. The last 2 games, he has shown why I think we all kind of liked what we saw from him last year. Tonight, I thought he was big for them. 28 points, 9 of 16 shooting, 6 of 11 from 3, 4 free throw line. He also had 4 rebounds, and 23 of those points came in the second half.
See, and that was obviously during a time, too, when this Kings team we've seen fold so many times in the second half, right? They come out of halftime, a team adjusts, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. So for him to still be able to make these baskets and to engage and understand what this Kings team really needed was a very positive thing of tonight. There was just so many positives, but Terrence Davis truly, I felt like, was understanding. Like, it wasn't fluky. He wasn't just chucking up some shots and they were going in. Oh, man, like we saw that happen last year, right? Where it was like, okay, Terrence Davis is going to Chuck City, but he's letting them fly, but they're falling. Where it hasn't been like that this season, and these last 2 games for him, it felt like it was under control, and he was just making the right decisions.
Well, we were talking about him, and you had a chance after the game to talk with Tyrese Haliburton, and you asked him about the performance of Terrence Davis. And here's how it sounded on the postgame show.
What about TD tonight?
TD haters, where are they at? Because I've been seeing a lot throughout this first quarter of the season. Just stay patient, man. Just stay patient. He works so hard, and he's such a good person, such a good teammate. We all want to see him succeed. So, you know, I hope everybody shuts up and just lets him go out there and play basketball because he's a really good player.
I understand like teammates have the back, and I appreciate that from Tyrese. At the same time, it's like he had not been playing well for a long time,
Sure.
and it's so much so that they eventually took him out of the rotation. But he stayed ready, and he got an opportunity because of some injuries. And look, it goes back to what Alvin Gentry said after like the first win he had as Kings interim coach. He turned to the two guys that were out of the rotation, Terrence Davis and Chimezie Metu. He said, "You two, we're going to need you. It's going to take a village. We're going to stay ready." Well, you go with Davis tonight. He was big for them. And then Chimezie Metu in the first half has 5 blocks in like 14 minutes.
Mentally, you guys, that's not easy to do. I know we go, oh, they're pros. They can do this. You're talking about one coming up from G League and, just not even finding his way in the rotations, Metu, and then finding his way into the starting lineup. And then Terrence Davis being so bad from 3 this year that things seemed like it wasn't the right signing. And the reason why you can say that, because you had a big enough sample size. Yeah. And you don't just give up on a guy like a lot of people did after 5 games, especially for De'Aaron Fox. Like after 5 games, it was like, oh, trade, fire, everyone. But like with Terrence Davis, he's a different caliber of player. So through 20 games, you can judge and say, he doesn't have it or it's not good. And I was feeling that way. And I'm not acting like he's going to have this type of game every night, Deuce. But this is great for him, his confidence, and for his team.
Yeah. If he's going to be streaky, it can't be, hey, you don't do anything for 20 games. It's got to be like, hey, yeah, he's streaky. He's been off for a couple of games, but he's going to have a good 5 games coming up. And that's kind of what we saw more of last year. But all of his teammates speak highly of him. He works hard. It's one thing he's knocking down shots, but I think he does other things. He attacks. He plays scrappy defense. He plays with energy. I think it's contagious. I liked how he played, and it's good that he's knocking down some shots. And for the Kings, who have turned into one of the worst 3-point shooting teams all of a sudden in the NBA, for them to get a guy who had been struggling finally to knock down some shots was a good sign. The other guy I want to talk about, Marvin Bagley. And we've all been critical of him. There was a stretch I was so irritated after he didn't want to go in the Phoenix game, and I was just like, fine, then if you don't want to be here, fine.
Yeah.
Well, give him credit. Like, he stayed ready. And I don't know how much this has to do because Alvin Gentry is the coach.
Sure.
But whatever it is, he missed the last couple of games due to a non-COVID related illness. I thought tonight he came in and he played 10 straight minutes in the first half. And those 10 straight minutes were great minutes. And it was not just him getting rebounds, because I think we know he can do that.
Sure.
It was actually what he was doing, hitting free throws. A guy who had been struggling big time at the free throw line was 4-4 tonight.
Yeah.
And it was defensively. And I know Doug has been working with him a lot. And I wonder how big of an impact he has had, one, on the free throws, and defensively too, because Doug was always talking about his hips. And tonight, especially, I saw this in the first half, there were a couple of times he got switched on the Bledsoe. And I was like, oh, God. And I know Eric Bledsoe is not the same guy, but still, it's a guard against a big.
And he shows up sometimes.
Yes. Bagley stayed with him, and Bagley tracked him to the basket, altered his shot. I just felt like he came in and brought great energy. And obviously, big picture-wise, we're not talking about that at this point. We can say that for like night chat. But in tonight's game, what I saw was he provided great energy. First double-double of the season.
You know what else with that, Deuce, that energy? It was discipline that you saw. You saw him discipline on those defensive possessions. You saw him discipline when it came to making the right rotations. I know he had a few F-ups when he had that turnover late in the game.
Dude, and Tyrese was so pissed. Like, he got the ball. He's kind of stumbling. Everyone in the arena is like, get the ball to a guard. And, of course, he tries to get it to Haliburton when he's covered. Turnover. Yeah, the game definitely got close. The Kings were up, I think, 90-76 after Mitchell hit a no-look feed to Bagley for the jam. And then, of course, they were up like 101-92, and it got a lot closer. But they escaped with a win. Anyway, Marvin, he played well.
He played well. And it's great for it. I love seeing him capable of playing well and doing that, right? Like, and no matter how angry you might get at him for some of his antics and things that he's done, at the end of the day, he really is a good young human being that is just maybe misled by certain influence at times too, and then also just needs to buy in and learn and be educated by the right people, whether that is Doug Christie, certain coaches, whoever. You could tell he's been buying in and doing his homework.
He had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds in just under 20 minutes. I think you can make a case that he could be in the starting lineup. And I don't know if they're going to go that route. I just think from what he brings, and they need rebounding, you could go with a more traditional lineup. Harrison Barnes did not play tonight. I imagine Harrison's going to be back on Wednesday because the Kings have more time off. Harrison's been able to practice with Stockton a couple of times, which is good. Just to, I didn't think they should force him into this one, like give him the extra time off till Wednesday because that's a long layoff. But you can make a case. You can go like a Fox, Haliburton, Barnes back at the 3, Bagley, Holmes. And why not? I mean, try it out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Chimeze's given them, but like I think Bagley's shown something since he's been back in the rotation with Gentry. I really do.
I honestly wasn't expecting this conversation to go there. And maybe Deuce, he's more of a player that does need to come off the bench, though.
That's fair.
And we're obviously not sure about this. We haven't seen him on the floor enough consistently through every season to be able to make that call. But sometimes with his mentality, I think there's not enough leadership there. And I'm not saying every single one of your starters need to be a leader, but it really does suck when you're a teammate and you see some guy get rewarded after denying to come in and this happens and this happens. It's deflating because you're also working your ass off and doing almost just as good when you do look at.
Yeah, but you don't know the true dynamics, and you don't know how much that's changed since Gentry has taken over Walton too. That's possible.
That's good.
I mean, he still stayed ready. Like
he did.
You can't hold the Phoenix thing against him forever. Whatever happened. It's done with. He's come in since then. He came in with Walton too.
Absolutely, and you don't have to hold it against them forever. But at the same time, I don't know. I just have a different mentality as a teammate and an athlete. Like, I called it a loser mentality. I didn't call him a loser, but that's a loser mentality.
But it happened. It's over. I mean, I think everyone's moved on.
I just can't believe anyone. If you're willing to do that as an athlete, there's something wrong.
Okay, so you're not allowed as an athlete to ever make a mistake.
You're allowed
in your
to
life.
make a mistake
as a young man.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean,
I guess I just think you learn that at such a young age that you don't deny.
But not everyone learns at the same rate. No one. I mean, see, now I feel like we're relitigating what happened against the Phoenix Suns, and the guy's playing well right now.
I know.
Credit where credit's due. He's engaged, and it's not easy for a guy who, one, that you've hit on multiple times, the injuries, the fan base. There's a lot of fans on social media that don't like him.
Yeah.
And then you had the issues being in and out of the rotation. He's had to overcome a
and
lot.
I'm saying this.
I'm not trying to play Captain Save a Bagley here, but like give the guy credit. And the Kings, let's be honest, this is a point of weakness on their team, is the power forward spot.
It is.
They've had to use Harkless. They've used Metu. It's not ridiculous
You're not
to
wrong.
suggest that Bagley could be a starter.
And I'm sorry for, reliving that a little bit. To me, it just hits differently. And that's just, again, because I grew up playing basketball all my life at a high level. And it's just like, you do that at a professional level. It's like, what? It's so surprising to me. I get it. Let's talk about the good, because there was good with him tonight. And again, keeping that mentality for him, coming off the bench, being ready. I like to see it.
And who's to say that maybe that wasn't a learning experience for him?
Deuce, I'm not denying any of those things, but you're not connecting with what I am. I'm not like reliving it. Like, now he's gonna have that on his resume forever.
It's like, put it in your he's in your burn book or something.
No,
like,
but as a teammate on that same squad, he's not gonna have. If he went somewhere else, it leaves. I think maybe even in another season it could leave, but it's there right now. It's still fresh to me. I don't know, still fresh to me. But
so. Never play again, Bagley.
No, see, you're taking it so wrong and different. And there's so much positive to talk about, so I don't want to hit on it. I just thought it was surprising when you did talk about him being put back into the starting lineup. I didn't really think about it. And then all those things started coming into play, and I'm just talking about it live.
Let's talk more about some of the good tonight. I thought Tyrese, what I liked about Tyrese is he was aggressive from the start.
Hell yeah.
That's the one thing we've been talking about a lot this year is like, he needs to look more for his own shot. I felt like from the get in this game, he was looking for his own shot. He ends up finishing with 18 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He had a couple of steals. He did have 5 turnovers, but he was 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. And I thought he was really good because he was pushing the pace. He was playing active. I just thought even defensively, he was flying everywhere. I mean, there were possessions in which he was defending like 3 guys, like just bouncing around. The guy looks like a free safety out there, just going from player to player. And I thought Tyrese was great tonight. I love seeing that. I thought Fox came out great too. The final shooting numbers weren't great. I thought he went cold down the stretch. But what I give credit to Fox tonight is he set the tone early.
That's what I was going to say. Yep.
He and Haliburton were pushing the pace. And I thought Fox did a good job on Paul George. And I'm not saying he locked Paul George down. George had an off night. Actually, George hit his first like 2 threes of the game. I'm going, great. He's going to go for 40 tonight.
Yeah.
And Fox was kind of playing off of him. After that, Fox was on him. And it was an interesting decision by Gentry to go, all right, like, we don't have Barnes. We don't have Harkless. Who's our best option? We're going to put Fox on him. He's our starting guard. We're going to put him on him. And he did a good job.
Engaged.
Yes.
He stayed engaged.
Yes.
And you talk about the beginning, and I'll get to Tyrese in a little bit, but you talk about that beginning for De'Aaron Fox. He looked a little bit more like himself, the way that he was finishing at the rim even. He was being more crafty and creative and not just trying to engage in physical contact at the rim, right? He was understanding that he can use his body differently, but still stepping on the gas pedal, being explosive, in changing his speed as well. Like, that is something we've seen him do in the past that he's so good at. And he was consistently doing that at the beginning of this game. I think he only took 4 threes. He missed all of them. And I like that too. I like that he is still trying to shoot the 3, but also not take too many like we've seen in the past. So he's starting to figure it out. Tyrese Haliburton, that kid just sets the tone. He is the future. Good.
He's good.
And he just needs to keep on being more and more selfish because they need that from him.
He had some comments after practice yesterday that I thought were interesting, just talking about dealing with like the highs and lows and how he takes the losses really hard. He said, I take it home with me, but I'm trying to understand the big picture, and how he's got to keep this going and talking about just all the guys working hard, and it's hard for him. And I've heard that same thing. I've talked to someone who was like, yeah, this has been, in this stretch, kind of the lowest he's ever felt playing basketball.
Yeah.
And the last couple of games, you see that joy to come back a little bit. It starts with these guards like Fox and Haliburton. And we've said this before. They are the tone setters. Those guys have to push like crazy. And it's hard. It is hard to be like, we're going to push the pace 24/7 because you're missing shots. Maybe you're tired.
That's what it is.
Especially late in the game. But for this current roster, as it's constructed to have success, they're going to have to play with pace all the time. They're not good in the half court.
Nope.
They have to push the pace.
You know who else we talked about that with? And we might have mentioned this too after we called the Stockton Kings and G League Ignite team.
Yeah.
We talked about that G League Ignite team, and they have so many young players on their squad, right? And they're really good when they push the pace because they don't know how to set up in the half court offense and execute that yet. But you're seeing them get pushed past their boundaries and their comfort zone and having to do that at time. And I think with this Kings team, you have to find a way to integrate that half court offense because
you're going
you
yes,
you have
100%.
to find a way to execute it. Like you're not going to win games if you don't. But like you're saying, make sure to capitalize on what you're great at and what you're really good at. And that's pushing the ball, pushing the pace, getting shots in transition, especially when you're playing some good defense.
So I know you're hosting post game on TV. I was hosting post game on radio.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that because not to like brag or something. Like, hey, I
was
don't
bragging
care.
for you, but yeah.
I don't know if I already said this because I think I said it on the radio. I've reached that point. What I like most about today's win,
You didn't say this.
is they didn't shoot the ball well.
Yeah, you didn't. Well, you might have said this in the beginning.
Maybe I did say it in the beginning. But they end up shooting just under 42%. They hold the Clippers to 38%. And the Clippers, like, let's not get twisted. Second, I have a back-to-back. They played a tough game against the Lakers. They end up getting that win. But George goes 5 of 21. Reggie Jackson, 7 of 19. Kennard, who had been playing well, at 12 points. Like, they did a good job tonight. And if the Kings, they need to compete on that end. And it's also, to be honest, like, really frustrating to see a game like today because you're like, where the consistency, right? Like, I'm already looking at this Orlando game going, all right, this Orlando team's 5 and 19. They play Golden State on Monday. We're actually going to be at that game.
Yeah.
We're going to Warriors Orlando Magic in San Francisco on Monday. Got to scout the Orlando Magic. And I want to see Steph in person.
Obviously.
And we never go to
We've
games
never been to the Chase
just
Center
to watch games.
Yeah.
But like the Orlando thing, you got to take care of, like, you got to take care of business.
Well,
the consistency is what we're talking about is, you have to bring that type of effort every night. I'm not saying outshoot. I'm talking about that effort defensively flying around.
So I am with you. And I think this is going to be a big test because is this team mentally capable of being there and doing that and understanding the task at hand?
I would say the evidence is no, they're not.
That's how I feel. And I hate that feeling. And I have a feeling that is the truth. But you're seeing 2 good games from this Kings team under a different coach. Maybe there is something different here. Maybe.
Well, the Kings are now 10 and 14. They've won back-to-back games against the Lakers. The Clippers. We should mention that tonight's First Thoughts, as always, presented by our friends over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield and Guaranteed Rate. If you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to refinance, you're like, can I afford a house?
Just like that.
Hit Sean up. He'll tell you, like, hey, actually, no, you can't. Or I was like, yes, what are you doing?
Yep.
Or if you're like, should I refinance? I don't even know what that means. Hit him up. He'll walk you through the entire process. He'll explain it to you in terms that, like, you will understand. Like, hey, talk to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
Like, he'll do that. So it's not going to be over your head. He's not just going to send you a whole bunch of documents. Say, hey, figure it out. He's going to walk you through it step by step. He's done it for one of our podcast listeners, refinance their house, and they love the experience because he makes it simple. He's also a Kings fan. You can talk hoops with him. My whole point is you can hit him up. 916-276-7563, Morgan Reagan. Or go to rate.com/Sean Stanfield.
Thank you. That's
Sean's
what
a
it
great
is.
guy to hit up, Morgan. You've known him for a long time.
Oh, I love Sean, by the way. And I know Deuce says, like, oh, one of our podcast listeners refinanced with him. But it's not only that. It's other people have already reached out to him and just have texted him before because they have questions. And he's not going to sell you on things.
Yeah.
He's just going to communicate.
Yeah, and he's a big supporter of our podcast. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. NMLS ID number 349707. Company NMLS ID number 2611. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Thanks so much to our friends at
Guaranteed.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Right. Joe has a question. Does he only do that in Sacramento? Nope. He does that everywhere. So make sure to hit him up.
Kind of sound like E40 when you said that. Nope. Morgan Reagan. Any other thoughts on this game? To put a bow on this, wrap it up before we get to night chat.
I think it's interesting that after a Kings win, that we're not this overly excited pair here. And you know what I mean? It felt like last game it was stop the bleeding. This game it was like, hey, there were solid things in this. I know things got close in the end, but it didn't feel like it was getting too far away. Sacramento Kings fans were engaged and happy tonight on this Saturday night. So everything felt good, solid, but it's where I would expect this team to be. So now you got to take care of business on Wednesday.
Quick topic is Buddy Hield, who was really quiet for most of the game. Got to give him love. I know he didn't have, like, if you looked at the box score, you're like, oh, Buddy with a rough night. He played just about 20 minutes, 19 and a half minutes, actually. He had 10 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds,
1 3,
2 steals, and 1 block.
Did he only have one
Yes.
for 5, right?
Yes, but how about this? 5 of 5 from the free throw line.
And those were some big free throws that were hit. And he did have a big 3. That 1 of 5. That 1 3 was big.
Yeah, he came up with, he had a couple of big defensive plays, I thought, late in that fourth quarter that really helped things. And there was a stretch where he came in where I was like, what is he doing? Like, he had a stretch where He comes in, misses a 3, then Kennard blows by him, scores. Then he turns it over on the inbound. The Clippers don't score. And then, like, the next play gives up an open 3 to Kennard in the corner. Kennard misses it. But then, like, then he came up big down the stretch. And I'm like, oh, my God. Buddy Hield
So
is
frustrating.
literally a roller coaster ride. You're just like, whoa.
Just
it's
welcome
chaos.
to the ride.
It is chaos.
It's chaos, and it's always inconsistent. But when the highs are high, it's fun to ride. It's really fun. So I can't explain him in any way because so many people too from the outside always go, "Oh, well, Buddy Hield, he's a great shooter." I'm like, at times,
Yeah.
That's how I explain it. At times,
Kings win 104-99. Next up, they're off until Wednesday.
hell yeah.
They take on the Orlando Magic then. This is a good time off for them. One, you get Barnes and Harkless healthy, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get some practice time. In the NBA season, there's not a lot of practice time. Gentry has not had a lot of time with these guys to even, like, if he wants to add in some new schemes, like, or some new tweaks to the offense or defense, whatever, like, they don't have a ton of time. There's just not a lot of practice time. So many games. So to have this stretch of basketball is big for them. The stretch of time off is big.
It's huge. Sorry, I was eating fries.
Yeah, I'm literally like finishing my sentence and you stuff fries in your mouth. Like what? Like the timing
That
there
was bad. My
was
bad.
terrible.
My bad.
It's just
Turnover.
like
Turnover. My bad. These couple of days, you talk about not only just being able to practice as a team, look at film as a team, resting their bodies. It's so important. You see how crazy these NBA seasons are, how consistent these games are and everything. But not only for them, even for people like us, just mentally, it takes a toll on you think about how much we talk basketball. They're doing that even more because they have to go in and watch the film and then do their homework on the next team. And these little breaks just help in so many different ways, physically and mentally.
Secret time?
What?
Morgan on the way home was so mad at herself because post game they do a preview for the next game, and her and Kenny were talking about the Orlando game, and so we're walking out after I'm walking out with Morgan after the game, and we're talking about like her post game or whatever, and she goes, "Yeah, Orlando," and like she started talking about Jalen Suggs. I'm like, Jalen Suggs is hurt, like he's out, and I guess on the post game, all she was talking about in her Kings Magic preview was Jalen Suggs, man. He's a talented young player. I know he's a rookie, but he's talented. He plays well defensively. And she was so mad at herself. Like, she was literally pissed. Like, I can't believe it. People are not going to take me serious. Oh, I'm just a girl who doesn't know basketball. I'm like, dude, you turn the ball over. Like, move on to the next play. Who cares? It's not like he doesn't play on the Orlando Magic. She turned the ball over.
I care about my work. I even started tearing up because I was just so frustrated. Like, you only get one opportunity to be on live television, and I don't care if I fumble over my words. I care about when I make mistakes in my basketball knowledge. And the fact that I didn't do my research on Orlando and Jalen Suggs' thumb, like I've even heard about his thumb, and I know about his thumb, but I just was looking at team stats and I was like, oh yeah, he's back, whatever, because I'm not keeping track of the goddamn Orlando Magic every day. But it's very frustrating. I just want to apologize to everyone, and I'm sorry for the turnover because I really screwed it up.
It was a big turnover.
It
and
was.
But you shake it off and move on.
I know, Deuce, but sometimes, like, you know me, I really want to be really good, and I just want to be good.
If you want to
And
be really good, that wouldn't have happened. But it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Anyway, Kings get the victory 104-99. Those are first thoughts